Thank you so much for joining us, man. We're excited to pick your brain here.
What's up, guys? Can you guys hear me okay? So I will say this. First of all, I appreciate coming on here, but when there's a group like this, it's just gonna be, let's just have like a raw, kind of a whatever. We'll just do something off the cuff, and I'll just be as honest as I can. I've done a lot of some podcasts lately. It's something I haven't done in the first like 2 years of my real estate journey. A lot of it is because I was trying to prove to myself that I know what I'm doing. The last thing I wanted to do was come on here and try to share something that I don't know enough about. But it's been it's a little over 3 years now in this profession. So um I want to be able to give value, and I want to be able to be kind of open and authentic and in my approach and being able to share kind of my experiences. So I'm happy to be here, though. This is exciting. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, I know. I was excited to talk with you again. The first kind of meeting we had was actually on the podcast where we learned a lot about your journey to Texas, about your YouTube success. How have things been since that episode? I'm sure some of the people on here have probably listened to that. If you haven't, you're missing out. Some real valuable tools in there. So how have things changed since the market shifted a little bit, right? We still see you killing it. Like what's been working for you?
I think for me, for yes, and we're all like, at the end of the day, like we're all a product, and we're all a part of the market, right? And so when the market is challenging, like it has been, we have to do what we can. Well, here's my trajectory and kind of what's happened. My first 2 years, it was like I was seriously like a chicken with my head cut off. I don't know if you guys ever taken a bite of something and just, I think that was a big bite and you're just trying to chew it as much as you can. That was me the first 2 years. So in the beginning, when I had no clients, I tried to create as much content as possible. Once I got really busy being productive and with clients and having to deal with these really critical endeavors for all these individuals, it was more challenging for me to get content. Now, when the market kind of adjusts a little bit, it slows down or is where it's at right now with the rates and things are, and obviously, even if things were great, it's still quarter four. Quarter four tends to be a time of slowdown. To me, this is exciting because now it's an opportunity for me to revamp and renegotiate like what I want to do for content wise, And so when there was a time when I had no time to create content, now I feel like because things have slowed down a little bit, I've even had like maybe 5 or 6 clients with listings and we came to agreement that just says, you know what? I think the better thing to do, if you don't have to right now, is let's look at the end of Q1 and Q2 next year, and let's relist this. But at this point, we're just kind of dragging this along, And so I have 5 or 6 clients that agree to that, and so I get excited. Like I wake up, obviously I have things to do. Obviously, I have a lot of replies and things I got to get to, but right now is a great time to formulate content, and for me to kind of go back to my roots and see, okay, what is next? Because the truth is, the last 10 days, if you've noticed, I know there's agents here that are way more experienced than I am, but I think if you noticed, there was a positive headline last week, when it came to rates, right? They had like this, the Fed meeting or whatever. Essentially, the rates actually adjusted and came down a little bit. Even in that little tidbit of that adjustment, it changed there was like a little bit of a small quake in the market. Like offers started coming in, phone calls started picking up. I started talking to all my builders, and they're like, yeah, I don't know what's happened in the last week, but it picked up a little bit. And so even for just a small pseudo headline for rates to be somewhat on a positive place, the market reacted. What that tells me is like, man, imagine if something significant happens, in the future, how quickly the market's going to react. So to me, this is an opportunity to really reload that content game, And I don't know how many of you are on here that do video content or utilize content as a part of your marketing, but man, this is a great time, to load up. Because look, let's just say next year, let's say pre-summer and Q2, things shift, right? Let's say it stabilizes, maybe rates even come down a little bit, and the market reacts. At that point, it's not enough to be like, wow, I really want to get my content game. I want to get my marketing ready now. I see fish and I want to start throwing hooks out there. It doesn't work like that. It actually happens. What happens is what you do the 4 to 6 months before that, maybe even 3 months before that, and prepare for that is how you're going to get the response that you're looking for. So anyways, Jordan, yes, the market is challenging a little bit right now because of rates, but I love it. I think it's a great time to buy, And I do appreciate that I have time to myself right now to get the content out there and prepare for what might happen next year.
Yeah, I think one of the tidbits that you just said there that really nails it is when things are slower, that's not the time to sit around. That's when you start formulating. That's when you start plotting. It's for when you do get busy, right? People like to go back and see that consistency that you've been on top of your game for a long time. They don't like to see big gaps, right? Like all of a sudden everyone's going to be talking about when rates go down. But if you've been keeping up to date or keeping your audience up to date with what's going on, that's separation. That puts you at a higher tier of knowledge, trustworthiness. You've been in front of them more, right? So you're more likely to convert those leads.
Yeah, I mean, the picture I'll give all of you is that, let's say there's a stream and we're trying to catch fish, right? And ultimately in 2021, 2022, we just saw a ton of fish coming through. It felt like if you just threw your hook in there, they would bite something, right? And so it's kind of like the fish had dried up a little bit. We're waiting for that presence to come back again. And the truth is, like, when you start seeing fish, if you're trying to throw a hook at that time, it's likely not going to be as effective. What you really need to do is when the times are opportunistic, like right now, to kind of build our marketing, our foundation, to be prepared for that. It's almost like building a net. I'm not here to fish. I want to build a net. I want to build a net so that when the fish do come, I'm not just trying to throw my hooks in there and trying to get it. Like, it's already done. They've been watching my content for 3 to 4 months now. They decided when the rates go down, when I'm ready to purchase, when I'm ready to list, of all the people I've been watching in this downtime, I'm going to choose this person, And so that's the opportunity that we have. And I love that analogy. It's just the idea that right now, whether there's fish or not, I don't care. I'm always going to be building a net, Another analogy is, I read in a book, I forgot where, but they said, look, in the old, let's just go back to whatever, the caveman days, right? If you're trying to catch an elephant and you see that elephant coming, it's not enough to start shooting arrows at it, when it gets close, and then it passes you on and you're trying to shoot arrows at its behind, It's important that we just dig a big enough hole that it just falls into the hole, And that's the way I look at this season right now. It's an opportunity for me to build a net. It's an opportunity to build a big hole so that when the next market wave happens, and it will, because if you look at what developers are doing right now and builders, and you look at something as simple as Warren Buffett putting an immense amount of investment into DR Horton and Lennar, not long ago, that's usually enough telltale sign to think how he feels about how bullish he is about the builder market, And especially if here being in Austin and Texas with an expanding market that we have, where we're just going to create new homes in new areas if we have to, especially in a market that we're in. Yeah, this is an opportunity, to get as much content as possible and build that market.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I've got to say it sometimes it's challenging. And I think a lot of times people get in their head about what kind of content to create. That's often the obstacle that we hear is, I don't know what to talk about. So in this kind of transitional phase, or this, not as hot of market, what content are you planning? What topics, categories,
That's
frequencies,
actually
anything you're willing to share?
Yeah, that was actually my next question, because Soomin, I noticed that you've been doing a little bit different content. Actually, you've been doing personal content as well, and transitioning. So what does that look like? Yeah,
I think ultimately, if anyone that's a real estate agent, if they've ever been to Tom Ferry events or whatnot, they're always saying, hey, do a market report every day, And here's the way I see it, and it's really logical. I just see it as, there's a lot of real estate agents. We get it. There's a lot of realtors out there. So how do we differentiate ourselves, all the time? So if you speak another language, guess what? You just differentiate yourself, So I always think to myself, in my market, I always want to put myself against a wall and bring 9 other Austin agents or agents in my area against the wall. And I'm just scoping myself out versus all of them, right? Or not versus, but just what they have to offer. And so I have to look at myself and go, there's so many agents. How do I continually differentiate myself? And I just brought up something as simple as speaking another language, right? But ultimately for me, I would say I can do whatever. If everyone's doing a market report, that's not going to differentiate me. They're probably going to get that information from somewhere anyways. So what I have to do is not only show my competency when it comes to understanding real estate and the seasons and the trends that we're in, showing homes, because ultimately at the end of the day, that's what people are attracted to, are the homes, not necessarily us. But what happens is I need to find out my unique placement of who I am and who I'm connecting to. So if there's some of you on here that maybe have a lot of knowledge in real estate and you're constantly giving out data, statistics, knowledge, market reports, which are good things, but you have not made a personal connection, an empathetic connection with your audience yet, I would ask that you start from there. So here's what I'm saying. I'm saying, yes, I would love to give you the inventory report of what's happening in Austin market. I would love to tell you maybe the trends in the feds and the rates and this and that. I would love to tell you about option periods and earnest, all that stuff. But if I don't connect with you as an individual, then likely you're going to, the audience person or the potential client will choose someone they connect with. So you're right, John. I have been always thinking to myself, look, everyone's showing homes, everyone's doing this. How can I further their content? I just threw like one of the most successful videos I've ever done was I decided to bring my wife into a video. And I thought to myself, I'm going to bring her in. We're going to do a 1-year review on what our life has been like since moving here from this state to this state in Texas. And that one I think is up to close to 80,000 views right now. I can tell you that video probably made me more than $1 million. You know? And it was simply because I was personal with my audience. I connected to them. So anyone that was married, they knows that oftentimes the spouse or the wife is the one that gives the green light on the decision related to me, you know? And so I brought her on for that reason, and it's been really effective. So yeah, making sure we connect with our audience. I think we, as realtors, we don't do that enough. We think no one cares. In fact, like, you have to understand the world that we live in today, because of reality television, because of Selling Sunset, because of $1 Million Listing, because of all these, the real estate agent has now have some semblance of celebrity, you know? And I don't mean like celebrity like Leonardo DiCaprio on a high level. We're talking like on a local level, there's a form of celebrity, just like there's a form of celebrity now on Instagram for personal trainers, for dog trainers, for people that are, you know, shoe heads or sneaker heads, for people that are sports car traders, for all these things. There's become celebrities with micro celebrities within these areas, and real estate has become one of them, you know? And so we almost have to treat our own brand, even if it's an audience of 10, even if it's an audience of 100, even if it's an audience of 1,000, we have to treat ourselves almost like a reality show cast member, you know? And so I'm constantly making that connection with the audience. And so yes, John, I am doing more personal content because right now I'm trying to separate myself from other agents. If every agent is giving the same data, then I can tell you, how do I separate myself from that? Well, maybe I can give it to you in Korean. Maybe I can give it to you from the perspective of someone that's been married. Maybe I can give it to you from the perspective of someone that has 3 children. Maybe I can give it to you from the perspective of someone that's relocated for a different state. Again, I'm just trying to find differentiating factors that separate me from other real estate agents, and then put that in an empathetic connection and communication to the audience. And all of you have a story. Like right now, every single one of you have a story. You have an angle, you have a story, you have a theme, and you have one way to connect. I have a ton of people that say, I'm such an introvert, Soomin. I don't want to get on video. I'm so shy. I'm like, great, you're going to attract introverted people and shy clients, you know? But I've never done, you know, and so all that to say is we need to make personal connections, and people need to know your story. If they know your story, even if it's something as simple as I've lived here my entire life, that's a powerful story, because you probably know Texas and Austin really well. You probably knew Austin before it became what it is today. And so there's always angles to that, but yes.
Yeah, I love that. I remember you saying that personal connection is often what's missing in video content. I've noticed myself, as I start putting out more video walkthroughs, my feed starts getting almost kind of curated to show me similar content. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people doing very similar style product. So I have to then look at my content and go, okay, how do I make it a little bit different? How do I put a little flavor of myself in here? In fact, Amber, one of our team members, she had a really fantastic suggestion when me and Marlo, another team member here on the call today, the very last time we went to go shoot content, she said, let's do like lifestyle parts of this video, right? Just small things. So it was still a walkthrough video of a property, but the intro was me waving and welcoming you into the house. It was us cheersing in the, with wine in the kitchen, little things like that. That's not necessarily personal connection, but it's an aspect of separating my content from other people.
Sure.
And what's funny is that video, by coincidence or by formulation, performed better than 90% of my other videos that are just straight walkthroughs.
Yep.
Right. Because people, I think, see themselves a little bit in what we're putting out.
Let me give you a good example
So,
of that. I'll give you a good example of something that's kind of ring true in my life. So I'm a huge fan of one of the sports I really enjoy watching right now is like mixed martial arts. Like I'm a UFC fan, right? And I know it's kind of a brute sport, and it's not something that I don't think my wife would really get into, right? Watching with me, But the moment she walks in and they do a promotion, when they do, so look, the sport is about two people fighting, and there's nothing more like brutal than that, But here's what UFC does really well. They got an insane and an incredible marketing team that understands this concept. They say, look, let's not just put two people that are muscular into a place and fight. Let's share their story. So they go out and put these promotions together for some of their larger events, and then they go follow someone to their homeland, right? So it's like, this is an individual from the favelas of Brazil. Look where he grew up in. Look what the type of streets he lived on. Look how impoverished his life was, and look where he had to work. He had to work out in this ugly little garage, and he worked himself up. And now look at him. He's on a big stage at Madison Square Garden. And then my wife will say, you know what? I want him to win. I want that guy to win because from his humble beginnings, look where he came from. And they have countless stories like that. They have, and that's called promotion. That's called connecting to your audience, And so now, granted, we're not fighters, but we are doing something pretty important, right? And so the more people can understand where you're from, they're going to want you to win. If they can make a connection to you, they're going to want you to win. And if that means you procuring the services to list your home or to help them buy. So hopefully that helps. So hopefully that gives you understanding. It doesn't mean that my wife is a fan of UFC, but she's a fan of individuals when she can make an empathetic connection to their story as a fellow human being.
Man, I love that because I find a lot of myself in that story too, right? So I get sucked into the storyline of suddenly like two people I didn't know. Now I'm rooting for one of them over the other based on like the backstory that I just heard. And so our responsibility as content creators or micro influencers in our own markets is getting our story out there through video content, through posting, through being vulnerable, open. People may think, I kind of think this myself sometimes. I'm like, who would care about my story, right? But the thing is, you never know who's listening. You never know who's going to connect with you. You'd mentioned, like, if you're a native Texan, that carries weight. If you moved here for a specific reason, that carries weight. People are going to identify with you some way or another, and it's up to you to get the message out so that they can connect with you. And if you're not doing that, you're missing opportunities because, like you said, people are going to take the information that you share and go utilize it with someone they connect with.
And keep in mind, like that was a big insecurity of mine, like I was like, man, I'm going to be brand new. I'm not like a young kid anymore. I'm coming brand new into an industry and a profession that, let's be real. The most important thing that you can have in becoming a real estate agent is really a sphere of influence or a network or a connection, maybe an aunt and uncle that might even throw you a bone, right? And I had none of those things. And I was coming into a brand new area with no experience, never sold home before, no network, no sphere of influence. So I had to ask myself, why would anyone utilize when I think about Texas, right? And so I had all of these insecurities welled up in me. And so I said, the only chance that I have is adapting, because what I thought were my insecurities actually became my strengths, And the beautiful thing, and I guess if you can say this webinar or this power hour is about video in some ways, like getting yourself on video. People can make a decision if they choose to like me, if they choose to trust me, if they want to hear more, based upon the content I put out there. And what that does is it creates a very efficient business model for me, in which if you are dependent upon leads coming from your brokerage or your team or an outside source. It's not a bad thing, you know, or you're cold calling. These are all good things. But what happens is, and what's not accounted for enough in the real estate game, is that there is a lot of having to sell yourself to the lead once you engage in and once you engage in their attention. Leads a day, I get 1 or 2 good ones, and then the ones I get, I have to tell them who I am, how I'm better than the 3 other people they interviewed already, how I got their number. And so you're spending a lot of time in almost qualifying yourself once you even engage in the lead. What video does, it does all the qualifying for me, right? So if they say, hey, I'd rather work with a woman, probably never going to hear from them. Hey, I want to work with someone that looks differently. I'll probably never hear from them. I want to work with someone that's a little bit younger. Never hear from them. I want to work with someone that's older. But when I do hear from someone, I'm already in the head. I'm already in the lead. There's no time being wasted of like, let me sell myself to you. Let me tell you why I'll be. No, they've already chosen me and they call me. So now what we can do is we can bypass all that qualifying. We're going directly to the task at hand. Do we need to find a home or do we need to list your home? What are we doing? You know? And oftentimes, if you do it well, you'll get the response of, oh my gosh, like, do you even have time for me? You know, I'm so grateful that you would even give me an opportunity to work with me. And like in my mind, I'm like, like on the other side of the phone, I'm like, yes. And then on the phone, I'm like, yeah, absolutely, yeah, I have time for you. You know what I mean? Like, and so there's a lot. Everything's about efficiency. Like I was able to, and I'm fortunate enough to have been able to be a part of 114 closings. This year, I think it's up to 84. There's no way I can do that if I'm having to have to sell myself on half the time qualifying every time I talk to someone that finally gets a hold of me, right? Having to sell myself. My videos and my content and my marketing, I've designed with intention to do that so that when I finally do get a hold of someone or when I connect with someone, that I'm not having to resell myself. They know everything about me. They know my story. They know where I've come from. And it's exciting. I get so many, like, I should like put this all in a memoir or a book sometime. It's probably really personal, but I get these letters from people, you know, almost like these like cover letters that you would get from offers sometimes back in the day. I got those for just wanting to work with me. Soomin, let me tell you our story. And are we qualified to work with you? You know, we relate to you on these levels. Can you please work with us? We would love that. And it's just like, that's not the power of me per se. It's the power of the type of content and medium that I'm utilizing.
Hey,
Yeah,
so,
and it's your brand.
Yeah.
Hey, so quick question. I know I talked to you about recently about, you know, I had to restart my YouTube channel, unfortunately, and it's doing really well based off of all the suggestions that you've given us and Mike Sherrard as well. And I'm very surprised at the results I've gotten so far. But what I was going to say is I've been doing a thing where basically I'm similar to Roberta. Roberta is on our team. She's absolutely killing it. She's interviewing local businesses as well, and letting people know what's going on in our local area. You surprisingly told me, hey, I wish I would have started like that as well. Is that still true?
Yeah, I think the term is you're essentially your city, your county, or your market's hyper-focused news reporter, you know? And if you can be that person for your community, if you can, like right now, social media and social content is efficient, much more efficient, much more timely than anything that, like back in the day, we used to like wait for the news to come on. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we got to wait for like the 8 o'clock news to figure out what's going on in the world, you know? That's not the world we live in today. It's in running time right now, you know? So I feel like I have a ton of ideas, and I shared one of those ideas with you guys, and I just said, man, I thought I should have done that, or I should have done that. But yes, that's one of them is simply highlighting those businesses, highlighting things in our market. Because look, unless you live in downtown Austin, for most of the outskirts and the expansion of Austin is that we are not in areas that are completely done. It's actually being developed right now. Like I came from a place in California where everything was done. The whole place was concreted out, every square inch, you know, a CPA office, a restaurant, a nail salon, another restaurant, you know, electronic store, like everything is concreted out. And here in Austin, in the suburbs of Austin, especially, like it's not there yet, you know? And so even the idea that a new Torchy's taco is showing up is like a big deal. You know what I mean? So if you can stay on top of that and be able to report those things, like that's a huge proponent of what you can do is bringing value to the marketplace. You know, I know people that are, take Leander, for example, the development and the PR of the mixed use facility of Northline being developed, like that's sold them a ton of homes. Like this has sold the city a ton of homes with the idea, because people are coming to Texas from other states, stereotypically afraid that they're going to be in the middle of nowhere with tumbleweeds, you know? And then all of a sudden you present to them one of the same developers that developed the domain are developing that in North Austin suburbs of Leander, a massive mixed use component. Like, and so just from that announcement, that has sold a ton of homes for Leander, you know? And they also had a running rumor of a big Leander Springs, or like a fake beach that was going to be placed off of Hero. That, just the release of that info had a bunch of people wanting to live in that area just because they wanted to be by those things. So yes, John, when you can go out there and be a hyper focused for anything, restaurants, businesses, Roberta, you've been doing a great job. I've seen some of your videos with like even a boxing gym, you know? Or hey, if you wanted to go out, I'll tell you right now, one of the biggest things, regardless of your background, that people want to know is they want to know, they want to be surrounded or in proximity to a place of faith, you know? So if they have a faith background, whatever the religion is, they want to be near an area where they're going to be able to assimilate and do life with like-spirited and like-minded individuals. So if you don't think like places of faith or worship are important for people moving here, it is. So if someone wants to pick up and go start doing some church reviews or reviews of temples or whatever, and just give your response on, hey, this is a very contemporary version of this, that, hey, I went here, they have a great children's program. If you did those reviews, I guarantee like that's something that people would that's important data that people would want to know, you know? And
real quick, something very interesting. So I started the YouTube channel, and then I got a lot of comments about, hey, this park is awesome, but I can't bring my toddlers. Literally, I saw 10 moms say, hey, you know, I can't bring my toddlers. What's really cool is from the comments, it created the new YouTube idea of best park for toddlers in Leander.
Yes,
right?
yes, that's huge.
And so now so I didn't even realize this was a need, right? Like there's a bunch of moms in our area that are looking for the best park for toddlers, right? And so that is something that I can get ahead of, as well as, you know, on the back end of that video, I'm saying, hey, my name is John Michael Perez. I've been in the real estate industry for 8 years. I'd love to be able to help you and your family move. And then also it was like very personal, just like your best video is from a personal standpoint, right? You talk about your family, how you just moved here. And then, but it's just so cool that you can build rapport and credibility by coming from a personal standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I think if you know anything about parents, children tend to dominate the priorities for parents, you know, like being a parent, I can't even go to the restaurant we want to go to because we don't think the kids might eat that food there. You know what I mean? So we end up having to like diverge to go where they will be satisfied as well, even before our needs, you know? So something as simple as like, man, the top 10 parks for children under 6 or toddlers, you know, like something like that is very powerful SEO content, you know, and it's a very passive way to gain leverage and funnel people to wherever you want to go. Yeah. So all things parents. And let's say you're not a parent. Let's say you're a young professional, right? You don't have children yet. That's a whole nother place that I can't even speak into because that's not my age and stage. But you can speak into that. You can speak to, hey, the places where I want to live as a young professional, places where there's things to do, meet new people, go out there. You know what I mean? Like there's always an angle. Each one of you on this call has an angle and has a unique perspective that you can add. But I don't think enough of, not you per se, like you, but per se in general, realtors do that. They simply spit data, you know, and that's okay. That shows competency. But if you're not connecting, then they'll take that information and find someone they connect with.
Yeah, I want to kind of shift into brand, right? I'm looking at your square here. You've got maroon everywhere.
It almost looks like I did it on purpose. I didn't. I went outside real quick. It was cool. I threw this hoodie on. I always wear this hat. I realize I look like Ricky Bobby right now from like a NASCAR. I get it. Okay. But yes, brand is important.
So yeah, take us through, like, I know that you come from a marketing background. speak to, I think everyone says, or like you'll hear all the time, you got to create your personal brand. What exactly does that mean? Right. Like, and then if you could like take it a step further, tell us like why you picked maybe the logo that you did, the colors that you did, little things like that that will maybe help us get into the mindset as to why you picked the things that you did.
Okay. So once again, let's throw 10 agents against the wall in your local market, those that are competing with you for the same clientele. What is differentiated about them? I'll tell you right now, most of them are going to align and resign to the marketing and the marketing of their brokerage or office. You know, I speak to a ton of agents that say, you know what, Soomin, they don't even allow us to go and make our logo big or go out and do these things. We have to just adhere to the brokerage office, the biggest logo and the color scheme, and then maybe we can throw in some personal things here and there. So first things first, if that's the case, I won't go there. I'll just say it's important that you have to understand that clients do not care about what brokerage you're with. I think clients only care about, there was a time maybe in the 70s and 80s where you needed a balloon on your business card to get some respect, or a Century 21 logo. That's not the case anymore. I don't think clients truly care about which brokerage you're with. That's not the game that they understand or they play. That's all locker room talk. That's like stuff that we talk about. What they care about is your character, who you are you trustworthy, are you competent? And so if that's the case, if that's what they care most about is who you are, then why would you go out there and not be building a brand around who you are, right? And so branding is really simple. From a physical perspective, I would say, I tell all my people that I work with in the beginning, look, let's get yourself a logo. I don't care what it is. It could be your initials. It could be some emblem of a lion with the key in its mouth. It can be a star. It can be some cursive, some Roman numeral thing. I don't care what it is, but it's important that you have a logo because you are a brand. Now you take the 10 agents against the wall. How many of them have a logo? I don't know, maybe half of them, you know? So now you can differentiate yourself by just half of them by even having your own logo. So I always say these things, get a logo. Let's get new shots or headshots, or let's get professional images, a step above an iPhoneography, right? Like some people, I got an iPhone. No. We want to go a step above that because I feel like a DSLR, an actual camera, is going to give you better composition and people can feel it. And then I always talk about colorways. Friends, we're in business of real estate. Colorways is a form of real estate. What I mean by that is when you think of McDonald's, what colors do you think about? Red and yellow. When you think about Facebook, what do you think about? Blue and white. Even something is, what do you think about Subway? Okay, brown, green, and yellow. You know what I mean? Like color is a form of real estate. And so it's important that we're constantly trying to divulge our brand into having some of its own space. So for me, here's what happened. I did my first photo shoot in Austin. It was over at the Domain. And I wanted to like wear something that was kind of unique. So I remember I found this really cool, like burgundy wine suit, you know, from Zara, right? It fit really well. I liked the way it looked. And then after I took that photo shoot, I had all these pictures of me in this wine suit, like this red, like essentially a burgundy suit. And I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, I'm already wearing the suit. I don't feel like too many agents or too many people, I don't see this color being utilized too often. And if I use that for some of my logos and some of my wording and my branding, and if it aligns to that picture, it might make it pop a little bit. It's kind of like when people with blue eyes wear blue shirts, right? So I'm like, maybe it'll pop. And it kind of did. And I just ran with it. So I don't really care I don't care what the colors are. I have my opinions. I always give my teammates, hey, let me give you my opinion on what I think can be better. But it's authentic to who I am, right? And so ultimately, if you see this logo, it's super minimal. And my theme is like, my style is like very minimalistic, kind of modern minimal is what I like. But all it does is it carves out a space to take my profession and my business seriously. So again, I have to overcompensate for not having experience. If I'm a 20-year veteran of real estate, have all this documented success, I might not ever need a logo. I think it's helpful. But if I'm brand new and I've never done this before and I'm coming to a new market and I want to be respected and I want to help people with these endeavors and I want to be a part of their story and I want to make money, I need to be respected on that level, you know? And so ultimately just understand this. I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't care. Like, it's not like anyways, everything we do is a message. Everything's a message. As a real estate agent, if you're the brand, it's a message. So I needed people to be like, wow, he went and got professional photography. He made an effort to do that. That's a message that I'm giving them that says like, he cares enough about how he's portrayed that I wonder how he would do if he lists my home for me. When I have a colorway, when I have covers, like YouTube covers and LinkedIn covers and Facebook covers that have continuity through all three platforms, and professional images. Everything's a message. Even me trying to, because I love to eat, and I'm always like fighting, like trying to keep a healthy weight and everything. Like I have to tell myself, it's not just for my health. It's a message that I'm giving to my clientele. Like it's a message that I'm giving off. Like, hey, I'm disciplined enough to worry enough about this, which hopefully that's a message to you that I'm disciplined enough to worry about these elements if you choose to procure me to help you with these things, And so everything's a message. So branding is a message. When you have a brand, when you have a beautiful professional logo, when you have professional images, when you tie that all together with a certain colorway, it's a complete message that you're giving to the public, saying, I care enough about the way I look. I care enough about these things that imagine how much I would care about if you hired me to help you with X, Y, and Z, And again, it's just a message. If you look at restaurants, yes, we have our hole in the walls that have great food, but by and large, like people, you can tell when you go into, like, they say go into a bathroom in a restaurant. If the bathroom is clean, it tells you how the back is being done with the kitchen. It's a message. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. I mean, the kitchen could be dirty as heck and the bathroom could be spotless, right? But what it does is you're giving oftentimes a continuity of a message, saying that if I care enough about this, how much more would I care about that? If we care enough about this bathroom, which we're barely using, how much more would we care about our kitchen where your food is being prepared? If I care enough about my branding, how I'm being portrayed, it's professional, and I want to show that to you. How much more would I care about listing your home? How much more would I care about helping you find a home? So just keep in mind, everything that we do, friends, is a message that we're putting out there. So when I tell my teammates, hey, let's get a logo made, I'm not trying to just do it for fun. I'm doing it because I know it's a message. Hey, let's go get some professional photography done. I'm not doing it because, we're trying to boost our ego. I'm doing it because it's a message to the clients out there that you should be taken seriously, And I said this to you, Jordan and John, before, but it's one of my lines I always use. It's like your best weapon against inexperience is really good marketing, And so in other words, my friend from Jason called me when I started real estate here. He's like a top agent on Coldwell Banker. He's actually now in the same brokerage I'm at. But I looked up to him so much in California. He's such a top agent, won every award for Coldwell Banker. He called me after I put out my, first YouTube video and said, Soomin, bro, you look like you sold 1 million homes. And I'm like, I haven't sold any, And that was all I needed to hear, because it was an understanding of marketing and branding covers a multitude of inadequacies.
I love that. You made kind of a comparison there about like the bathroom and the kitchen, right? It makes me think of Buc-ee's, right? Buc-ee's is so proud of their clean bathrooms. No one probably ever questions if their kitchen's clean, right? So it's such an interesting thing, like a connection there, that I love that you shared that, because if you can put out a really good outward or an outward image that you're taking care of business on the outside with all the things that people are initially going to see, it instills a confidence that you're going to be taking care of business if they enter a transaction with you.
Absolutely. I love this conversation, because the more I'm talking about this with those of you that are on here, it's like, if there's 20 other podcasts going on right now, let's say within like the brokerage and the team real estate world, I'll tell you what they're talking about. They're talking about calling expired listings, calling FSBOs, cold calling, door knocking, and the majority, that's what they're talking about. Like one of the challenges I see in real estate today is that there's not enough people that know how to train on these things. In fact, the reason I made a decision who I partner with in the beginning of this business and my venture with this gentleman named Mike Sherrard in Canada, it's not because he was local here, because I thought I would have to work with someone local, and he's in a different country. I chose this individual because of what he said to me. And he said to me these things. He says, Soomin, the problem with real estate today is that it is being run by great people that became successful in a different time. So they became successful in the late 80s, late 90s, early 2000s, and the communication platforms and the times were different back then. That was a time when people were still doing very physical flyers, billboards, bus stops, pen and pads, door knocking. These things were very effective back in the day. So these people have now become successful through that type of trajectory of work over a few decades. And today they run offices and run teams. And so when they're put in a position to teach new agents or newer agents or agents that need to break through, how to break through in 2023 and 2024, they don't know what they don't know. So they continue to teach more cold calling, door knocking, expired listings, FSBOs. And it's nothing wrong with that. I think that there's an element, I don't think it's efficient for one, but I think it still works. But is it a differentiating factor? It's not, because 95% of people being taught that, you're now not separating yourself in any form of facet. Here we are, a group of like, let's say 15, 20 of us right now, talking about video content, branding, marketing, YouTube. You know, this is another game, friends. You know, this is a very specific skill set. And I would encourage you, wherever you're at, I don't know where you guys are all at, you know, or what brokerage or team we're on, it doesn't really matter. But I would say you have to get yourself an environment which people know this stuff, they know it well, and they're able to teach it. Because right now, I'm telling you, the day just started for me. I'm 2 calls in with agents that are calling me. Today, I'll end up with at least 5 to 7 conversations with agents, and it's all the same. It's Soomin, I want to learn YouTube video marketing. I know this is how I can differentiate myself. Who can teach me? Can you lead me somewhere to a source? And I do that every day. I have these conversations, and I try to give my 2 cents. You know, I try to put everyone in a direction of where to go. So I would say the same for all of you. You have to get yourself in an environment. Like if I'm trying to get in shape, let's say, if we're going to be on this like subject that I brought up already, I have to be around people that are in a better shape than I am. I need to be around like a bunch of people that are like, because that might help me to if I'm a C student and I'm around a bunch of other C students, I'll stay a C student. If I'm around a bunch of A students, that C can become a C plus, that C can become a B minus, that C can become a B, possibly that C can become an A because I'm around the other. But you have to be in an environment to which that's being done. And right now, what I see, what the conversations I'm having every single day is people want to know one thing, but they're not able to source how they're going to get that type of training. And that's a challenge. This is the great challenge right now, I would see, for anyone that's been doing real estate for less than 5 years, is that how do we go up, or even 10 years, or anyone that's stagnant in real estate or wanting to break through to another level. It's getting yourself in the right environment. And you have to get yourself in a place where you're being leveled up, per se, on this subject.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, you know, within the last few years, I've seen a lot of success of putting videos out on Instagram and Facebook. However, they're very short-term leads, right? Like once I post a video on Facebook or Instagram, they're pretty much never going to see that video again, right? And it's, I mean, unless they go way down on my timeline. But one really cool thing is I've seen massive results over the last few months since partnering with you. Was I'm putting videos on YouTube and people are literally searching for what I'm putting out, right? And so now it's like, if somebody was going on Facebook and searching for John Michael Perez real estate agent, right? It's like, that's the beauty of YouTube, right? And so a lot of people are very underutilizing YouTube. And the downside is, I mean, for a lot of people, is they want to see results immediately. And YouTube, you're not going to see results overnight, right? You're going to get results really quickly if you put out an awesome video on Facebook. However, it's not going to be like you said recently, I'm lead generating thousands of hours a month, and I don't even actually have to lead generate because I made a video once, right? That's huge.
Right.
You know?
Well, that's the difference of YouTube. Is YouTube is an extension of Google. It's a search engine. It's not a place just for videos. It's a search engine. Like if I myself, you know, I'm not a very handy person. Like if I'm trying to do something with my car, what do? I go to YouTube and I type up how to do it. Or I go to Google and I type how to change this part, right? And what happens when I go to Google? A YouTube video pops up as the suggested thing that I get this resource from. It's no different with real estate. People are looking for best place to eat in Leander, right? Just like a little SEO right there. Your video, if you're fulfilling the need of that Google search, will populate right there. And that's the difference between like a Facebook video, because that doesn't pop up. Right. You're going to get the flash in the pan of some views and maybe some interactions, But when you want someone to go down the rabbit hole of your content, YouTube is the library that you can build to get people familiar with you. And you can make all kinds of content that hooks them first, and then they start exploring who you are based on your channel.
Yeah. So all of it's important. Okay. So Instagram Shorts, all that stuff is important. That the Instagram to me is more of a form of validation, right? And so you're right. YouTube is a search engine. It's not a social media site. I mean, even though there is elements of that, more than anything, it's a search engine. Think of YouTube as like, let's say you have a brand new house right now. We all move into a new construction home. It's empty. YouTube to me are the foundational things that go into those homes: dining table, bed, sofa in your living room, right? Like the foundational things that you might need to at least have a life in your new home, right? And those things don't change. They're like stationary things. Everything else, Instagram Shorts, those are like fresh bouquet of flowers that I'm putting into the home. It looks beautiful when you put it up, like, hey, oh my gosh, who got these flowers for you? They're sitting on the kitchen counter. They're great. It gets a lot of attention, but it lasts what, 3 days before it starts to wither a little bit, in the same way. That's how I look at, but the couch is always there. The bed is always there, and the dining table is always there, So everything you do, yeah, we certainly want to spruce up our home. We want to put some artwork on there. We want to bring in fresh flowers because it changes the atmosphere. But it doesn't take away from the stationary things that you constantly need. You, by no means can you have a house that you can live in simply with fresh flowers. You need a bed, you need a dining table, you need a couch. And what YouTube is it is those elements for me that are not moved and that's always there as a platform. And so I have that. And everything else is trying to, in some ways, accent the stationary things I have there. So when I put up Instagram posts, to me, it's like, hey, I'm going to put up some fresh flowers in this house right now, get people to kind of notice it and see it. And maybe they'll say, hey, beautiful flowers. You mind if I have a seat on your couch? Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's the analogy that I look at. Like, and so I guess this, in a lot of ways, like we are talking a lot about YouTube, and it's a free platform. Look, I came into real estate thinking that the only way I'm going to make money is to sell some homes. And today I won't get into the details, but I make a monthly income from YouTube, So people think like, oh, how much do you spend on advertising? I'm on, not only do I never spent even a penny, which I'll change it this year coming up. I'll try some things. I've never spent even $1 on an ad yet. Never bought a lead, never paid for an advertisement, nothing. And I gotten the majority of my business, almost all of it in the first 2 years, strictly from YouTube. And they said, Soomin, how much money do you spend on ads? I'm like, I never bought an ad, never spent a penny on an ad. I'll take it a step further and say they paid me. Like YouTube, Google and YouTube was paying me every month to help to like go out there and build my real estate like business. You know what I mean? Like it's mind blowing, right? The idea that and if you want to know what that means, you can monetize your YouTube channel once you get past X amount of hours watched and 1,000 subscribers, then you can monetize it. I think it's a really powerful thing to do. And it's been kind of a benefit. But all that to say, yes, YouTube is a stationary thing. It's something that has created a lot of leverage for me. In other words, if you total all the watch hours from last year's or even this year's YouTube, for me, even though it's been a little bit down from the year before, it still equates to close to a decade of prospecting. So 10 years worth of prospecting, 10 years worth of prospecting and cold calling and door knocking off of my YouTube channel for watch hours for this year. It's a different efficiency, friends. It's a different form. It's a different game I'm playing. I do not want to knock on doors. I don't want to cold call. I'd rather have videos and content do that for me when people are searching for that. And so,
yeah. And I think of people like Timberly here on the call who works with investors or like is investing herself. And there's ways to make that niche, right? Where you're the go-to for information about investing in a certain area. There's opportunities there to kind of separate yourself or really define by your YouTube channel what you're about. And it's cool because you can make separate YouTube channels, right? I've seen people make YouTube channels specifically for lifestyle content. I've seen people make separate channels for real estate, market statistics, and all that. There's endless possibilities, which is really cool. We've got about 7 minutes left. One thing that I would like to do, Soomin, and I know Nick, who I've had conversations with, he's on this call right now, probably has a question that a lot of people are thinking. What kind of tools do you use, or what equipment do you use when you're shooting your content? Because anyone who goes to your channel is going to see a very high grade, high level production. And so how do you, like, what are you using? Are you using gimbals? Are you using your iPhone? Do you have a DSLR? What does that look like?
Good question. Okay, so here's what I would say. It's not that good, Jordan. Like my stuff is like, it's not, I've learned like, if I was a basketball player, I got really good at dribbling with one hand and shooting a proper free throw. And I've mastered that. But as far as going 360 dunks behind the back, all of that, like that's not my thing, right? And so to answer your question, mine's very basic. Like I'm actually gonna find it right now. I'm gonna put in the link right here. But I have I used to get this question a lot to the point where I created a whole nother channel just because I kept getting these questions, right? So I'm going to put a link in there to this channel. I talk about my entire setup. And I talk like the whole, I got to find it real quick. I'm sorry, guys. There it is. One thing that I know about myself is that if something is going to be complicated, likely I won't do it, or I'll have enough reasons not to do it. So here, I put a link in this YouTube channel. Hopefully it's the right link. So to answer your question is, I use my iPhone. I just make sure I always have the latest iPhone. I actually don't have the titanium one right now, but I think the camera's good enough for the one that I have. I have an iPhone. I have a pseudo gimbal or like a handle of something. And then I have a corded mic, not even a wireless one. I do have a wireless one too, but I use a corded mic. I use D3 Elements to do all my home tours. If I have a listing, I will procure. I have a good drone person and a video person that I utilize. So that's a little bit different because I am serving someone's listing. But if it's just a home tour or something I'm doing, more times than not, it's just myself. I got like a gimbal or like a holder, my iPhone, and a mic. That's it. And I even selfie the intro and I selfie the outro as well. The reason I have it so minimal is because I know that if I have to wait for someone to show up with a DSLR with some big backpack and some boom mic, like anytime that I need to get something done and I have to like wait to get those things in place, I probably won't do it, you know? So I have to give myself every excuse. I have to remove it. I got this mic. Get out of your car and go get that done before you go home. And that was essentially the first 2 years of my real estate. Like I would be somewhere, I'm like, I'm already here. And so that's what I did. So it's really simple, Jordan. It's such a minimal setup, you know. And then if you go to that YouTube channel, there is something that says I talk about my setup, and that's in there as well. So feel free to take a look at that. But iPhone, I mean, our iPhones are like, you know, like their approach is possible. Some people they think they need a Mark 6 DSLR with a massive, you know, stabilization backpack and all this stuff. You can do that. I think it's really impressive once a product is done, but it's a lot of work to get something done. If I wanted to right now, I'll be done with this power hour. I can go somewhere right now, get everything done in like less than an hour, just because it's so minimal, my setup. And you know what? The truth is, sometimes I will say this, sometimes overproduction is a turnoff. You don't feel relatable. If something is like, it's all like just crazy good production, looks like a movie, people are impressed by it, but they don't know that they can reach out to you. The reason I know this to be true is when my wife and I were going to move here to Texas, we watched like hours and hours of YouTube videos. Friends, we saw videos that were like, in hindsight, the worst videos. They were blurry. It was some girl talking about like Texas Mexican food versus California Mexican food, and like nothing like edited. But we sat there and we held on to every word that she was saying because we just wanted data information. I remember watching a video of a blurry video of a rainy day of someone just holding their camera up and driving through a town in Austin. And I'm like, it's a horrible video, right? It wasn't even in focus, but we're squinting when we're doing it, but we're like, let's see if we can get something out of it, you know? And so I knew that when I started my channel, production value wasn't the biggest thing. Now you certainly want some production value because it allows for people to stay around long-term and see the other ones, but you don't want to, I don't think overproduction is a good thing. Again, if you're overproducing something, they don't feel like they can connect to you and you're just some talking head, then you won't get the business from it. But if people can feel like they can connect to you on a very personal level, and it feels like a little more you're in touch with them or you're touchable, then I feel like there's a sweet spot for that.
Absolutely. And I think the most, and feel free to chime in on this or agree or disagree. I think one of the most important elements of a video is good quality audio. It doesn't even necessarily need to be the production value, the video quality,
Did you say good
like that.
Audio, right?
Yes. Yes. Good quality audio. Because if you're like me, I'm a consumer too. And if I click on a video and I hear, and it sounds like you're in another room when you're talking to
echo.
me, I'm done. I'm gone. Like, you lost my interest immediately. I don't care how good the quality of the video is. If I can't hear you clearly, I'm out. That's just me being a consumer as well. And good quality mics are actually relatively affordable nowadays. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on something that gets the job done.
Yep.
100%. Hey, so we're running out of time. I want to respect everybody's time. But Soomin Kim, thank you so much for being part of this call. We really appreciate it, man. You brought so much value. And where can people find you and learn more about you?
I mean, a lot of us, we can connect on Instagram. That's a fun place to be, you know? So it's just Soomin Kim group. You'd be surprised. There's actually other Soomins there. But I'll just type it in here. Soomin Kim group is good. And then obviously I added you, I gave this list. I haven't put a video. Here's the thing. This link right here to this other real estate channel that I have. I'm going to be working on that probably as much, if not more than my other one. And that one's just to really help the community, help other agents. And it's a way for me not to have to answer the same question over and over again. So when I get the same question, I like to start putting videos out there for this. So stay close to me on that channel as well, and as far as Instagram as well. And then obviously, if you want to find my other YouTube channel, I'm sure you can find it. And I will say this: I know people see that channel and they're like, "Oh, I could just do the same thing, or I can mimic it." There's a lot of psychology, SEO, and some techniques behind it that has come through training and stuff. So anyways, feel free to reach out. I'll be able to, if I can add anything to your business and I can help you in any way, I'm happy to do so.
Wonderful. Guys, give Soomin a thumbs up if you learned something new today, or if you found some kind of value here. Awesome. Hey, thank you guys so very much for joining. Super valuable episode. Like Soomin said, whether it's Soomin, John, myself, anyone here is probably of the mindset that we're going to help each other. So love the community. Thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you guys on the next Power Hour.
Hey, we got a new episode just came out, by the way. Real Estate Virgins, episode 47. Y'all check it out.
Let's go. All right.
See you guys.
Hey, make it a good day, everyone. See ya.
Later, guys.